Hello, everyone. Welcome to week number 6 in Science 200. We just have this week 7 and week 8, and you will be finished with the term. You'll have a nice break for the holidays, and then you'll get back to it in January. I think it's the 6th. We'll see. I think that's right, though. So last week, we learned all about biases in science and how we try to remove bias. Now, as human beings, we have biases. Biases help us navigate the world because it's basically learning based on experience. That's what a bias is. But we try to take that out in science because we don't want our previous experiences to influence us at all in the interpretation of data that we are collecting in our research. So you learned about biases last week and how even funding affects the way that you look at your data and your research, but also how you walk into your experiments. Biases brought in by subjects, clients, patients, etc. There's all different types of bias, and we try to remove that in science. You studied more about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and how biases actually affected how the calculations were made to determine how much oil was actually being pumped out of that oil rupture, that oil line rupture back in 2010 until the research scientists got involved with it. So this week with the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, you're going to learn about the ecological damage down to the microscopic level, because it's a little bit easier to count how many dolphins died, though we don't know total numbers, of course, manatees, shorebirds, other songbirds, etc., that live along the coast, the fishing industry, etc. But really, the oil spill most affected the microscopic organisms, and the microscopic organisms are at the base of every food web. So this was really important, and it will have continuing effects through the next decades, this oil spill. So you're going to learn about that. And the forams are a type of microscopic life that were completely destroyed. Well, their numbers were greatly reduced by this oil spill. So take a look at that, because there are other ways to look at this oil spill besides how it affected tourism, how it affected the fishing industry and human beings. It also affected the whole ecosystem of the Gulf of Mexico. Your planning document, the final version of that, is due this week. All right, a hint about this. You actually turn this in week 5. If I graded week 5 and you made a perfect score of 50, all you have to do this week is upload that very same file. That is all you need to do. If your score was not perfect in week 5, make your revisions to those sections that I have described to you in your feedback. Upload that, and that will be your week 6 assignment. This counts for more points. I believe it's 168 points instead of the normal 50. So it's a big grade. So make sure you get this in. This is the final written version of your paper involving your research on your topic. So then you say, well, this is week 6. What am I going to do for the next 2 weeks? I know I'm still working on this topic. You're going to put together a presentation based on the research that you've done. And so week 7, we'll be putting together your speaker's notes. I will talk about that. What the heck are they? And then in week 8, you're going to turn in your slide presentation that you would be presenting to your audience. Okay, so those are coming up, just so you know. This week in week 6, you have discussion board postings again. You had a break for about 2 weeks there, but now you're back to it because you've actually finished your research now. Your initial post. What was the most interesting thing that you learned through your research about your topic? Why was it interesting? Did it surprise you? Did it change the way that you looked at this topic? Why is this topic relevant to you? There must have been a reason that you chose this topic, so why? Remember that these have to be in by Thursday evening before midnight. And I put on here, include at least one paragraph, right? So these discussion board postings should all be at least a paragraph long. What's the definition of a paragraph? 3 sentences or more, right? If you write one sentence, that is not enough information to describe everything that I've asked you right there in the initial post. Your response posts are what interests you about that person's topic. Especially if you're going from, you looked at electric vehicles and somebody's talking about GMOs. And, oh, GMOs are interesting to you. Maybe you've been to the grocery store more than normal in the past couple of weeks. Yeah, I have. And so maybe this interests you, and maybe you're interested in what they've discovered. What further questions do you have after you read what they have written? So these are due, the response posts to 2 classmates are due by Sunday evening before midnight. Tip of the week, proofread your work, especially a big important paper like the week 6 assignment. Proofread it. Now I'm not saying this is easy. Proofreading is hard, especially if it's your own work because you typed it out, right? So a tip, read it out loud to yourself. I know this sounds silly. I know it sounds silly, but you will catch your mistakes if you do this. Read it out loud to yourself. Read it out loud to somebody else if you want to. I don't know if they're interested in this. If they're not, doesn't matter. If they're supportive, they'll listen to it. So read it out loud and find your mistakes. Pay attention to the spelling and the grammar mistakes. Now, we all use Word now, right? Or some software that's very similar to Word. And your spelling and your grammar mistakes pop up all the time with the little red lines. So pay attention to those and fix those where you need to so that you turn in a really, really, really good paper for this week number 6. All right, if you're having any issues, any trouble whatsoever, please be sure and let me know. m.sigmon@snhu.edu. I'll be glad to work with you on this. And with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week number 6.